Hey everyone, Scott here to discuss Brokeback Mountain, starring Heath Ledger, Jake Gyllenhaal, Michelle Williams, Anne Hathaway, Linda Cardellini, Anna Faris, and Randy Quaid, directed by Ang Lee. Now, Ang Lee, the guy who brought the Abominable Hulk movie that I didn't mind at all. A lot of people did, but I didn't. But but he's a good director. Like, he did a good movie, like Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. And I haven't seen that movie in about, I don't know, maybe 15 years, if I were to guess correctly. But he's a good choice for drama reasons to make a movie about gay cowboys. Excuse me for bringing that up before I got into the show. But I like his work. I don't mind it. I think he's a good director for what he does. Especially if he's done bad movies like Gemini Man, which I didn't mind that film, to be fair. I thought it was beautifully made. But maybe for another time. But let's get into Brokeback Mountain, as this is a short story. And let's get into this review, as I'll see how this movie's going to turn out. In the summer of... I have seen this before I get started on this, so... But let's see how my opinion goes this far. In the summer of 1963, Annis Delmar, played by Heath Ledger, and Jack Twist, played by Jake Gyllenhaal, first meet in Signal, Wyoming, where they work at a farm led by Joe Aguirre, played by Randy Quaid, whom for some reason I reviewed him before in Independence Day. The first one, I should say. The better one. Yeah, you get my point. As he'll be remembered for that film, but his performance here is pretty damn good, as Heath Ledger and Jake Gyllenhaal are phenomenal in this movie, as Joe requests them to go to the sheep and meet them in Brokeback Mountain to work with the sheep, as not Anus, what the hell am I talking about? Anus and Jack wait for their employer while at the bar getting a drink, and the cinematography is gorgeous. Especially in this first 30 minutes of the film while in Brokeback, and I really like the score as it's western and is really iconic from the movie. I'll talk about the iconic one a little later. They walk the sheep to the mountain as they chat and get to know each other while taking a break together, and Ang Lee does a tremendous job on the whole vision from the short story to screen, as this was a short story, like I said before. This was ever a movie, and I hear it's really good, as this is a beautiful looking movie with a great story of two gay cowboys, which I'll get to that part in the storyline in a few minutes. But overall, the movie is absolutely well made. After encountering a bear and spilling food all over the ground, the mules drop the food, and by mules I mean horses, drop the food all over the place, and all they have is beans, despite Anus is sick of beans, which is all they have, as the two men hunt together for not only moose, but any predators of sheep, like wolves or coyotes, for example. And Ledger and Gyllenhaal do work well together, as before Heath Ledger died, may he rest in peace, did work with Jake's sister Maggie in The Dark Knight, where Maggie was Rachel Dawes and Heath Ledger was the Joker. And when he was still alive, or when he was alive, I should rephrase that as, he was a tremendous actor, as he does a tremendous job in this movie as with Jake Gyllenhaal. In fact, this may be his second best performance compared to The Dark Knight. While sleeping one night, or that Oscar was deserved. While sleeping one night, Anus is cold from the weather at night, and Jack invites him in the tent they made for each other. Meanwhile, they're in the tent and have a gay sexual intercourse, which can be uncomfortable for some people, but hey, there's nothing wrong with that, which is something I choose to believe in. And I'm not gay in general, but I choose to believe there's nothing wrong with that. And by the way, before I move on, I should say, when I say Anus's name, I'm spelling it like Ennis, not the other way around. Just an FYI, folks. Anus wakes up the next morning and goes for a horseback ride to where the sheep are at and sees one of them got eaten by either a wolf or a coyote. I couldn't say where because which one because it was off screen as it was never shown. And for the best, while Anus is uncomfortable with the night before, and he tells Jack it ain't nobody's business but ours. Which makes sense. As nighttime comes, they're in the tent and once again have, let's call it, homosexual intercourse, as the word gay is something I don't wish to repeat in the show anymore, as Jack gets news from Joe about that his mother is near death, maybe, but we see her at the end. And Jack says there isn't anything he can do from Brokeback Mountain, which did feel depressing but true to life in the next few scenes. Ennis and Jack sleep in the snow, and they take the tent down as there's a storm coming their way. As they're about to take off, they roll down and wrestle together like boys would do in general, and the shots in these scenes are fantastic. They get back in the office and part ways as Ennis hitchhikes while Jack drives away, and Ennis feels ashamed because he had homosexual intercourse with a man. And we move on to him getting married to Alma, played by Michelle Williams, and they go on their honeymoon together while Jack visits Joe, as Joe doesn't rehire Jack. I'm guessing he did it once and never again, which makes sense. Ennis and Jack have two baby girls. Well, no, Ennis and Alma, have two baby girls. One named Alma Jr., and the other is Jenny, which is a nice family. And I'm trying to remember, did Heath Ledger and Michelle Williams date each other at one point and have a kid together? Because for the life of me, I really can't remember. It was like, what was it, like 15, 20 years ago, maybe? On the 4th of July, Ennis and Alma, takes the girls to see fireworks, as Ennis tells two loudmouth bastards to keep it down until Ennis beats the shit out of them. Which, because if someone was being rude to you, me personally, I would beat the shit out of them. But that says more about me than I thought. But the scene where Ennis is standing with the fireworks going off is a great shot. Jack goes out on the rodeo path and meets Lorene Newsom, played by Anne Hathaway, as he gives her back her hat, and at that night they dance together and go in Jack's car, and at that night and have some sexual intercourse, which they do a hell of a lot in another movie called Love and Other Drugs, and they have a baby boy together in this movie, not the other one that I just brought up. And I really do like and care for these characters quite a bit, as the actors are quite believable as their characters. Perfect job casting right there, Ang. Ennis gets a postcard from Jack as he asks if he can visit him in town, and how did he find him is beyond me, as he tells Alma they were fishing buddies, and he comes by their place and start kissing while Alma sees them and didn't seem too pleased to find out she married a gay man. And Michelle Williams pulls off the look of what the fuck have I done marrying a homosexual perfectly, in my opinion. Ennis and Jack themselves get themselves a room together and hold and kiss each other, while Alma is worried about Ennis as he comes home and goes on a fishing trip with Jack for the weekend. And Alma is very sad about it, as Michelle Williams always pulls that off quite well, in my opinion, as she's a pretty good actress. They're at the lake together, and Ennis and Jack tells Jack, about what his father did, which was showing him and his brother a dead body in the middle of the desert, and that was a haunting scene the score, as after he explains it, is the best and iconic piece of score in movie history. It sounds like this. Du, 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 du. You know, like if you've heard it before, you'll get the point of that. Jack goes to a mountain with Ennis, while Ennis and Alma are having a hard time with each other, And we see Ennis and Jack at their normal lives as Jack teaches his son how to drive a tractor while Ennis and Alma get divorced, and he has no choice but paying child support while he gets a visit from Jack as he tells him he has the kids until another month, which is sad, but that's life. And Jack goes to Mexico, and the next scene, they have Thanksgiving together while Jack turns off the TV, and Lorene's father won't stop turning back on the TV, and Jack yells at him, and I'm thinking her father better think about listening to Jack, or else he's in serious trouble. And if somebody disrespects you in your house, you have to yell at them for that. That's something I choose to believe in my opinion. Ennis, Alma, and the girls have Thanksgiving together with their parents and their kids, and they talk about their differences and why he hung out with Jack and almost beats her up, and he leaves to go to a bar and fights with a man in a fucking truck, as it is a brief fight scene, but the scenes was tremendously acted by Heath Ledger, as this is one of his best performances. Ennis and Jack go to a mountain together and have an argument. Ennis goes to a bar and some music goes on, and he dances with Cassie, played by Linda Cardellini, as they're done. And as they're done, she flirts with him, while Jack and Lorene have dinner with LaShawn and Randall Malone, played by Anna Faris and David Harbour, before he was ever famous in Stranger Things. And I get why he's in the movie, but what the fuck is Anna Faris doing in this movie? As I thought she was a comedic actress. But she does okay here for what little she does in this movie, as I'm okay with that. And David Harbour does some good work here, I'll say, for what little he does here as well. Ennis and Cassie pick up Alma Jr. as she's grown up and played by Kate Mara, as she does a pretty good job in this movie as a shy character, which seems like Alma Jr., as she asks Ennis to stay with him because Alma Sr. and her husband are rather strict with her and Jenny because of her new baby, Alma Sr. Seems rather depressing, but I know what she's going through, except I've never had a little brother. In fact, I'm the younger one in my family, but let's move on. But as far as the strictness goes, I know what that's like, but I'm not here to talk about that. Ennis and Jack go on a fishing trip on the next day. Ennis tells Jack it'll be until November when he can see him again, and Jack is upset about it as he wishes he knew how to quit him, and Ennis is rather upset and cries while getting in the truck and leaves Jack behind as Jack goes into Mexico, and this is amazing acting by Heath Ledger and Jake Gyllenhaal. Ennis goes to the diner and eats alone until Cassie comes in with Carl, who's a guy that she met randomly, and they talk until Ennis makes Cassie rather sad as she runs out rather too quickly, which was rather a very sad scene. Ennis gets a note from Jack, saying he died and from fixing a flat tire, while Ennis imagines some people from Mexico beating up on Jack for being gay. And Lorene tells Ennis about where Jack wants to get his ashes put on Brokeback Mountain, as she asks him to get his ashes from his parents, and he drives by to get the ashes and tells them how bad he felt for Jack. As Ennis goes upstairs to see Jack's room and takes the ashes, Alma Jr. drives her boyfriend Kurt's car to visit her father to tell him she's marrying Kurt, as she invites him to the wedding, and he says he'll be there and looks at the closet of a photo of Brokeback Mountain, and the ending was absolutely beautiful, as this whole movie is beautifully made. Now it's time for the rating. I'll give this movie a 8.9 out of 10. Heath Ledger and Jake Gyllenhaal worked very well together, as I would have wished to see Heath, more in the movies after The Dark Knight. He's tremendous. He's a tremendous actor, and their performances are absolutely amazing. The movie is well shot, well made, and the actors were casted in the right roles, which is amazing, as Ang Lee does a great job putting the adaptation from a short story to screen. The shots are amazing, and the score was beautiful, and I really do like the relationship between Ennis and Jack, as it was told very well, as it was beautifully made, and this is Ang Lee's masterpiece. Maybe one of his best. We'll see. So I'd like to thank you guys for joining me for Brokeback Mountain, and until then, da 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 da.